Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Maxwell. When my wife went on a dinner date with my boss against my wish, I packed my things and vanished. But here's how it all went down. My wife, Chelsea, is kind of the opposite of me. While I am more reserved by nature, she's outgoing and charismatic. Before we got married, she worked in the corporate world too, but right before we tied the knot, she left that behind to start her own event planning business. And honestly, she's damn good at it, with clients who trust her completely. Weddings, corporate events, charity fundraisers, you name it, she's planned it flawlessly. I worked as a cybersecurity analyst for corporate companies. Despite our differences, my relationship with my wife worked. We were both ambitious, but in different ways. She thrived in social settings, but I preferred to focus on my work behind the scenes. Our personalities balanced each other out. We'd been together for 5 years by the time I realized everything was about to fall apart. We'd been married for 2 years, and up until then, it really felt like nothing could shake what we had. Looking back, it's clear that sometimes even the strongest foundations have cracks you don't see until it's too late. I had been working in cybersecurity for a while, but then this opportunity came. I got headhunted by this small boutique firm, a place where the owner is hands-on. This guy is known for being tough and demanding, but also for really valuing top talent. Basically, if you're good, he wants to keep you. The pay was better than what I had before, and the benefits were solid too, which made it tempting. But it wasn't just about the money. I knew the pressure would be intense, because this firm doesn't cut corners. They expect results, fast and flawless. I wasn't worried though. There was no question in my mind that I was damn good at my craft. That job was a big turning point. I just didn't know it would be the starting point of everything that would come crashing down later. My car had been acting up for a while, so one day I finally took it in for some routine maintenance. But the mechanic called me later and told me the problem was bigger than we thought, and that I wouldn't be driving home that day. So I called Chelsea, my wife, and asked if she could pick me up from work. She said yes without hesitation. When she arrived at my office, I was still stuck finishing up a task that absolutely had to get done before the end of the day. So she waited inside my office while I worked. About 30 minutes later, my boss walked in. Now this guy is usually a pretty hard, serious man. He's middle-aged, gruff, and not the kind of person who smiles much or makes small talk. But as soon as he saw Chelsea sitting there quietly in the corner, his whole demeanor shifted. It was like he became a different person. I had to introduce them, of course, and told him she was my wife. That's when things got even stranger. He started asking her questions about her work, how her event planning business was going, and what kind of clients she had. Then, almost like a joke, he said something about how, since she was an event planner, maybe she should plan all the company events. We all laughed, but even then, I watched him ask for her business card and said he might need her services soon. On the surface, it seemed harmless, but looking back now, that moment was the turning point. I didn't realize it then, but that was the day I lost my wife. Months went by, and honestly, I didn't think much of the little things my boss was doing at first. He would occasionally tease me about how beautiful my wife was, or joke about how lucky I was. It was awkward, but looked harmless. Then one weekend, something happened that changed everything. I had misplaced my phone somewhere around the house, and since Chelsea's phone was nearby, I grabbed it to call my number and find it. As I was scrolling through her recent calls, I noticed my boss's name popping up repeatedly, mostly in the afternoons during the work week. That immediately set off alarm bells in my head. Why was he calling her so often? It didn't make sense. Curiosity got the better of me, and I started going through their messages. What I found shocked me. The texts were something else. It was clear my boss was flirting. He'd compliment her looks, ask about her day, and even throw in some jokes that were clearly meant to charm her. Chelsea's replies seemed casual, almost like she didn't realize what he was trying to do. But as I read further, I noticed something more disturbing. When the flirting didn't seem to work, he changed his approach. Suddenly, he was all about business opportunities, promising to bring her clients and gigs. It was like a calculated move to win her over in another way. I could see my wife slowly letting her guard down in their chats. They had already met up for lunch by then, something I found out from their messages. Then, he started pushing for dinner. Chelsea didn't want to go at first. She told him, "My husband won't approve." I thought she was setting a clear boundary. But my boss was relentless. He told her I wouldn't care, that I was the kind of guy who didn't bother about that kind of thing. Then, what really surprised me was how he tried to turn her against me. He said things like, "Your husband does stuff on the side, too," implying I was cheating or hiding things. It was a dirty move, designed to create doubt and division. Chelsea even started asking questions in the chat, like, "What do you mean? What things?" I didn't get to read all of it before she noticed I'd been looking at her phone. After that, she became much more protective, keeping her phone away from me. It was clear she was hiding something, or at least didn't want me to see what was going on. It was over a week before I could get another chance to look at Chelsea's phone without her noticing. After the first time I saw the texts, she'd gotten really careful about keeping them away from me. But one weekend, when she left it unattended for just a moment, I grabbed it quickly. I needed to know what was really going on. I opened the chat with my boss, and what I found was worse than I had expected. They weren't just sending messages back and forth anymore. There were photos. He sent her pictures from what looked like a hotel room. The guy was wearing nothing but his underwear in these pictures, and the captions were clear. "Wish you were here," one said. It was like he was trying to invite her into something private. I didn't know what to do at that moment. I felt shocked and betrayed, but I stayed quiet. I forwarded those photos to my own phone so I could keep the evidence safe, just in case I needed to show someone later. I also took screenshots of some of the conversations that showed my boss going out of line. But even with all of this proof in my hands, I wasn't ready to confront Chelsea. I wanted to figure out how to handle this without making everything explode. So, I put her phone back like I hadn't touched it. That moment confirmed the worst fears I had been trying to ignore, but I wasn't ready to face it out loud yet. That night, after hours of wrestling with my thoughts, I finally found the courage to speak up. I called Chelsea into the living room. When she came, I asked simply and clearly what kind of relationship she was having with my boss. Chelsea blinked, acting like she didn't understand what I meant. I told her I knew about the messages, that I had read the conversations between her and my boss. There was no room for lies anymore. Then I asked her to end all communication with the boss immediately. Chelsea's reaction was complicated. At first, she looked shocked, like she didn't expect me to confront her directly. But after a moment, she got defensive. She told me she didn't see anything wrong with her talks with my boss. She said she wasn't encouraging the flirting, that she was just being polite. Then she told me she was supposed to meet my boss the next evening for dinner. It was important for her business, she said, an opportunity to discuss a big event my boss wanted her to handle. When I told her she should cancel, she pushed back hard. She said I was overreacting, calling me controlling for trying to tell her what to do. According to her, the dinner was strictly professional, and my insecurity was getting in the way of her career. She made it clear she wasn't going to cancel the plans just because I was uncomfortable. I told her straight up that if she decided to defy me and go to that dinner, she shouldn't expect to come back to me. There was no room for negotiation. After that, Chelsea didn't say a word. She just went to bed. The next day, my wife, Chelsea, acted like we were quarreling all day. Then, during the evening, Chelsea stood in front of the mirror, slipping into a tight black dress. I remembered when I first complimented her on it years ago. She turned to me, smoothed down the sides of the dress, and asked, "Do I look good?" I looked at her without saying anything. She was about to go out. After the conversation we had the night before, when I told her how uncomfortable this dinner made me, especially given the man she was meeting was my own boss. She didn't wait for my answer. She grabbed her bag, gave one last glance in the mirror, and walked out the door without looking back. The moment the front door closed behind her, I sat there, trying to keep myself from spiraling. After about an hour or two, a notification buzzed in. It was from my boss. I opened it. You couldn't even stop her from coming to spend the evening with me. I froze, knowing exactly what this text meant. He was mocking me, like Chelsea was a prize to be stolen, and I was the fool too weak to protect what was mine. That message just confirms my fears. That man had been pushing boundaries for months, and now he was basically spitting in my face. And Chelsea walked right into it. I couldn't sit in that house another second. That place didn't feel like a home anymore. I grabbed a duffel bag and stuffed it with whatever I could reach, some clothes, a charger, and my laptop. I didn't care where I ended up, I just knew I couldn't be there. I drove for nearly 2 hours, without music, without even really thinking. I ended up at my parents' place. It was late, around 1 a.m. My dad opened the door, confused. My mom came out too. They didn't press me. I kept checking my phone, every few minutes, waiting for a message, a missed call, anything. But the screen stayed dark. I lay on the old couch in their den, holding my phone against my chest until sleep finally pulled me under, still hoping that maybe she'd realize what she'd done. I woke up the next morning knowing this marriage was done, as I didn't get any message or call from my wife. So I made the decision. I was going to vanish. I've always had this quiet dream of living outside the United States, but it was unrealistic because of my wife and the potential family we hope to have. But now, I had no reason to stay. The first thing I did was open the banking app of our joint savings account we had put away for our future home. I transferred it all out. Next, I logged into our investment account. We had a modest portfolio, some mutual funds, a few stocks. I sold it all off. Market timing didn't matter to me. Within an hour, I had transferred every dollar into an international account I'd opened. I wasn't looking back. That morning, I booked a one-way ticket to Mexico. But before I left, I had one last thing to do. On the flight, as the plane taxied down the runway, I opened a folder I had kept for weeks containing screenshots of late-night chats between my wife and my boss. With photos my boss sent to my wife, too. I attached the files to a message I dropped into the company group chat. I didn't write a caption. I let the screenshots speak for themselves. Then I turned my phone off. When the plane finally touched down in Mexico, I turned my phone back on once I got through customs. But once the screen lit up, the notifications hit like a wave. Dozens of messages poured in, text after text from Chelsea, my boss, and a few colleagues. The whole situation had blown up. The first message I opened was from my boss. Or rather, former boss. He sounded panicked, like he was trying to get ahead of a story, but it was already out of his control. The man was spiraling, and part of me felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness watching it happen. Then there were the messages from Chelsea. Wall after wall of texts, starting with confusion. Where are you? Why won't you answer? And slowly shifting into desperation. She tried calling, tried guilt-tripping me, tried apologizing without ever really admitting fault. I didn't respond. A full week passed before she sent the one message that finally broke my silence. You were right, she said. He played me. His wife found out, and he's blocked me. There was no gig. When I read it, it didn't bring me joy. The man she threw away our relationship for had discarded her, and moved on when there was fire on the mountain. I typed out a reply. I kept it short. It hurts that I was right, but I wish you the best. That was it. Here in Mexico, I had nothing but time. I started freelancing online, using my cybersecurity background to build websites, fix security holes, and consult for small businesses remotely. The money was decent, not as flashy as the corporate salary back home. I worked when I wanted, took breaks when I wanted, and built a rhythm that actually gave me peace. I still thought about Chelsea sometimes. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. You don't just erase years of memories overnight. Some people, when they show you who they really are, expect you to forgive and forget because it's easier for them. But once you really see that level of disrespect, you can't go back. I doubt I could ever continue life with someone who was that comfortable disrespecting me. That's the truth.